Welcome to the Imago Dei Recovery Podcast, where we can discover God's heart and unearth the masterpiece of God's image inside us. On today's episode, we discuss masks, protective personalities, IFS managers, and the need to hide. As we grow up, all of us seem to develop a need to hide, a need to put forth our best face, to put on a mask, to pretend to be something that we're not to certain people, to take on protective personalities, to give in to IFS manager parts that seek to keep our exiles safe and keep us from emotional pain. Why do we feel this need to hide? Simply put, all of us have been dropped in life. We have had wounds and pain and trauma occur in our lives. Regardless of our parents' intent, regardless of how awesome our friends and peers were, regardless of the community that we grew up in, we've been dropped in life. We've been wounded. We've experienced pain. And as a result of this pain, we've developed lies that we have believed, which have led us to put up walls to protect ourselves and keep others out, because connecting with others brings the risk of pain. As we put up these walls, we learn to put on masks and cover up and hide who we truly are, what our true emotions are, what we're really feeling, what we're really thinking, and do things to keep ourselves safe. Masks can also be referred to as protective personalities, or IFS managers, internal family systems managers. And we take on these traits, these characteristics, these parts to protect ourselves from being vulnerable to experiencing more pain in our lives. We feel like if we push people away, if we prevent people from seeing parts of ourselves that we wish to hide, parts of ourselves that maybe carry a little bit of shame or feel a little more vulnerable, exiled parts that have experienced pain in the past, have been bullied by peers, have been bullied by family members, have been ridiculed by others, or haven't felt safe in our families or with our friends and peers. And so we've learned that being our authentic selves carries a greater risk of experiencing more pain in the future. It opens ourselves up to hurt. It opens ourselves up to ridicule and shame and pain and wounds. So we develop these masks. We develop these protective personalities. These internal family system manager parts start to take over and control aspects of our lives. Essentially, we have learned to pretend and fake it. We've learned to cover up who we truly are and to put on an image of what we think others want to see. Some of these masks could include clown, always trying to use humor to hide who we are. I know that one resonates with me, as I often use humor to distance myself from people. Hostess or host, hosting parties, making sure that we're having people over at our house and that we're serving people, that we are the center of a social gathering, that we have this rich social life that covers up the vulnerable parts of us inside. Martyr, pretending like we're a victim and playing up the victim and wounded parts of ourselves to make people feel sorry for ourselves and to gain attention that way. Bully, making fun of people and pushing them away, making other people look small and feel small so that we look big, so that we look smart maybe, or we look more acceptable. Doormat, allowing people to walk all over us and never standing up for ourselves, but doing what other people want all the time. Spiritualist, using the Bible to okay our behavior and to negate our feelings, to pass it off as, well, I'm trusting God, or I'm not worrying because I'm not supposed to, or I'm not going to be sad because joy comes in the morning, and I'm supposed to dance with joy all the time and always be happy because that's the way that God wants me to be. There are many other types of masks, some of which could be an actor, a rescuer part, always rushing in to save people, protector, overachiever, perfectionist parts, judge, hero, critic, nice guy, professor, hard worker, people pleaser, and any other number of masks that people put on to take on a personality that keeps people away and keeps people from seeing their true selves. These masks can also be referred to as protective personalities. They're character traits that we seem to take on, that we project to keep others at a distance, to keep others from knowing our true selves, to keep other people from knowing that we're really struggling, we're really hurting, we're really dealing with some hard stuff that makes our lives difficult. And maybe they don't want to hear about that discomfort, hear about that pain. Maybe we've experienced certain circles. We're bringing up how we're struggling, how much pain we're in, how we're suffering. Doesn't seem acceptable. It seems like it pushes people away rather than bringing about the connection that we long for. It seems like it's not safe to be who we truly are and share our struggles and share our pain. And so we've learned to take on these masks, to take on these protective personalities, to let these IFS parts take command of our lives at various times. The reality is that most of us wear multiple masks throughout the day, and we transition seamlessly between them as we go about our lives. The mask or the protective personality that we are acting from depends on who we're with, what we're doing, what expectations we perceive. We go from being the clown to being the spiritualizer, to being the critic, to being the people pleaser, to being the servant, to being the nice guy seamlessly, transitioning back and forth multiple times a day to live up to the perceived expectations that we feel that others have of us, to create the connection with the people in our lives that we desire. Oftentimes, we feel like if we take down this mask, if we let go of this protective personality, that we'll be rejected. We'll be met with scorn, we'll be met with ridicule, we'll be met with shame, and we won't be accepted. And we won't feel like we belong. Often, we're terrified to let go of these masks, to let go of these protective personalities. And we'll believe those lies that we've told ourselves since we were little. In the internal family systems world, each of these masks or protective personalities could be referred to as a manager part. Could be a perfectionist, a doer, a thinker, controller, a passive part, a self-sabotager, a pessimist, a pleaser, a server, or any of those masks that we listed before. It could be an internal part of us that seeks to manage our pain, seeks to keep us safe, and seeks to manage life and control life around us at various parts of time. And as we live life, each of these parts can come center and can come forward and take control of things as we go and as we live. In addition to pushing people away, masks, protective personalities, and internal family system parts and managers can draw people in. They can be an act that we put on to help people be attracted to us and form connection with us, to help people see that we are valuable. They're ways that we seek value in our lives. So we can find ourselves working as the pleaser or the server in our church and taking on tasks, not being able to say no, but doing things because, well, we're supposed to serve, and that's what Jesus would want. And that allows people to see how important I am and value me. Or we put on the clown mask and we tell jokes because then people laugh and we feel accepted and we feel valued. But the downfall with wearing masks, with living out of these manager parts, is that the connection that is formed isn't genuine. It's not real. It may be that there's a connection because we like a certain sports team together, or because we're funny, or because we do certain things. But deep down, we feel like if we took this mask off, if we let these people get to know the real us, if we were completely vulnerable with them, they would not accept us. They wouldn't like who they saw. We have those lies playing in the back of our minds, lies that we live from, and lies that these parts were designed to ignore and designed not to deal with. As we go through our recovery journeys, we can address these masks. We can learn to put them down. We can find communities where we are accepted, where we are loved, where we can be our full, authentic, true selves, and know that the people around us care about us and who we are, not about what we can do, what we can provide. They aren't pushed away when the bully parts of us rise up, when the angry parts of us show up, because they care about our true selves. They care about the image of God inside us and who God created us to be. It's imperative that we find communities like this. And hopefully, if you're married, your marriage can become a place like that as well. Which doesn't mean there won't be struggle. Doesn't mean there won't be conflict in any of these relationships. Conflict is a normal part of life, unfortunately. But it does mean that we can move forward, we can be loved, and we can be accepted for who we are. As we grow in health and as we work on these masks and these manager parts, we can learn to let them go. Internal Family Systems provides a great framework in order to do this using the 6 F's. These 6 F's can be used to find and identify these manager parts and to find out what it is that drives their behavior, what it is to cause you to want to resort to humor to push people away, what it is that causes you to want to please people and not stand up for yourself. Part of you can't say no because it's afraid of letting people down and that people will run away if you're not serving them and not doing what they want and care about. Again, the Internal Family System mantra is that all parts are welcome, that these parts of us are good and they were designed and built to keep ourselves safe, to keep ourselves from experiencing pain. These masks, these parts, were designed and created with good intentions. They were meant to keep us safe, meant to keep us from experiencing pain. And now, as we grow and as we mature, we can help these parts find new ways and new roles to help us live a healthier life. As we enter into the 6 F's, the first step is to find the part that you want to work on. Identify the clown part of yourself and find where you feel it in your body. Name the part and start to focus on it, the second step of the 6 F's. Focus on where in your body you feel the part, what the part looks like if you get an image. Is it a character, a person, an animal, or maybe a color, or maybe just a feeling? A lot of times I will have these parts manifest as a feeling in my head, in my gut, in my chest, sometimes even in my arm or shoulder. As you focus on the part, describe what it is, journal about it, talk about it with somebody. If you're doing this exercise alone, journal about it, write down what you notice, write down what you feel, write down what you see. The next step of the 6 F's is to flesh out that part. Again, continue describing what they look like. Ask the other parts if you can talk to this part of you. Ask that part to come forward. Another strategy, if you're doing this work on your own, in addition to writing down, is find something that represents that part. Find a toy, a stuffed animal, a blanket, something that represents that part and allows you to flesh out that part and be able to talk directly to it. As we flesh out the part we want to talk to, the part that we're targeting, we should get an image, a color, a sensation, or like I said, use a toy, use a blanket, use something to represent the part. The next step in the 6 F's is to befriend that part. Approach the part with kindness. Ask why the part does what they do. Ask the part if you can approach them, and ask them if they see you. Ask them how they see you. If they see you as a little boy, as a little child, or if they see you as a fully grown adult. Approach the part with kindness, curiosity, and compassion. Ask them why they do what they do and what motivates them. Typically, these manager parts are performing whatever their role is in order to protect us from pain and keep us from being hurt and feeling a rush of emotions that drive us out of control or outside of our windows of tolerance. Befriend the part. Be kind to the part and inquire what their motivation is and what their end goal is. Ask the part questions. Get to know the part's story. Get to know why it is doing the things that it is doing. Just continue to ask questions as long as the part is interested in giving answers. When you meet resistance, inquire about that. Why is the part hesitant? What does it think will happen if it gives in and answers your question in an honest way? The final step of the 6 F's is fear. What is the part afraid of? What is the part afraid will happen if they don't do their current job? As you inquire this, again, approach the part with curiosity. Continue to ask questions and get more information about why the part is performing the role that it is currently performing. If this part of you thinks that you are still a little boy, that you are still a child, introduce him to yourself. Introduce him to your core self. who you are and who God has created you to be. Often these protector parts of us still think that we are a little child and they need to protect us. Offer to help the part. Offer to help this part of you achieve what it is that they are trying to achieve. As a fully grown adult, you now have the ability and the capacity to do things that you couldn't when you were a child. Address their fear and assure them that you are able to meet this fear and prevent it from happening again. You are able to prevent the little boy from experiencing the pain, the wound, and the trauma that they experienced in the past and keep them safe. Once you have gone through this process, you can address the part again and ask them what kind of role they would like to have in the future. Ask them if they would be willing to give up this protective part of themselves and take on a role that helps you in your current adult self live a healthier life. What would they be excited to participate in? And then give them that role if it's something that you feel like would help yourself. Otherwise, continue to dialogue with this part until you can come up with an agreement of something that would be useful for you and them to do together. As we go through recovery, finding and addressing the manager parts of us, the masks that we wear, and being able to take them down and live in our authentic, true, vulnerable selves is an important tool. It's an important task to undertake as we become more and more of who God created us to be, as we access the Imago Dei inside of us, and as we become the masterpiece that God made us to be. Unburdening our parts and allowing them to help us in healthy ways increases our recovery process, increases our freedom and our healthy living. And it allows God's process of sanctification to continue in our lives as He heals us from the wounds, the trauma, the bruises, the drops that we've experienced in life, and to become more fully who He created us to be. Thanks for listening. Remember to review this podcast so that others can find it more easily. If any of this resonates with you, please visit my website. Please reach out for a free coaching consultation. And please reach out to me with any questions or comments at james@imagodeirecovery.com. I would love to dialogue with you. I would love to hear topics that you would like me to address on this podcast as well. And here at Imago Dei Recovery, we want to help you live knowing you are God's masterpiece.